Hello.
Hi, Roald.
Hi. Hi, people. Good morning. Can you see me? Good. Well, I can sort of hear you. It's nice to see you all. I'm in Ithaca, New York, which Parker can show you on a map where it is. It's not too far away, a few hundred miles. Anyway, I'm glad to see you all, and I would like to talk to you a little bit, but mainly to answer your questions. So let me say just some things. You've all read that preface to a book that I wrote, and one of the things in there is just what chemistry is and how. Oops, I'm going to turn off my cell phone. Hold on a moment. This is a modern thing I'm going to do. Okay, all right. So in there you read about a sugar molecule and a water molecule. So I just wanted to tell you that chemistry in some way is not complicated, but in other ways it is. And I just wanted to tell you where it comes from. So I think all of you know about water. So I actually have some water here in a cup over here. And all of us have drunk water. And I'm gonna do something every day, an experiment with that water. So an interesting question is, what the heck is in that water? And how do we get from this clear liquid, which we worry about whether it's pure and how it tastes, and we desperately need in our bodies, how we get from that liquid to knowing that there are molecules in it? And why does it matter that there are molecules in it? Well, let me show you something, a little experiment. It's a little difficult to do it on television. But I've got here, I drink coffee, and in that coffee, I put in sugar cubes. So maybe you haven't seen a sugar cube in a while, but it's just sugar in a cube form. And I come from Europe, where we're used to we're drinking coffee with sugar. But I'm now going to take this cup of water. I'm going to put the sugar cube in it. This is something that people did several hundred years ago. There's nothing special about it. So I'm putting in the sugar cube. You can see the sugar cube in there. It's going to dissolve in there. And now I'm going to help it dissolve by actually taking a spoon, and I'm going to stir it. I better go back here. I'm going to help it dissolve by stirring that water without spilling too much about it. And can you see the sugar cube?
Yes.
Okay. Now you still can't see it dissolving very much because it takes some time to dissolve. But maybe if I bring it closer, I'm getting good at doing this on television. You can see the sugar cube, and maybe some of you can see that the sugar cube is getting smaller and it's dissolving in there. Now people saw this hundreds of years ago. They saw it with sugar, they saw it with salt, and they got curious about what the heck is happening. I mean, there is something in that sugar. You see it's dissolving, it's almost gone now. Almost gone. Now where has it gone? So they were curious about that. They started measuring, for instance, could it be that somehow whatever was in there was mixed up with the water? That was pretty obvious. The water tasted different. And there were other things about it. Now it's pretty much dissolved. I'm going to drink it. Sweet water. Nothing very interesting here. But people got interested and they started asking questions. And here is both the difficult and the fun thing about chemistry, that you could ask these questions and try to get some answers. Where did the sugar go? Did the volume of the water increase when I put the sugar in? All these things. Why does the water taste sweet? Obviously, the sugar must have gone in the water. You could taste the sugar itself, it tastes sweet. All these questions were eventually answered, but here is the thing that's interesting, that they were answered without waiting for any microscopes to show us what the heck was going on here. That, one didn't have the microscopes. Even today it's difficult, that we can see a lot in there. But people get the knowledge about atoms, molecules, things, without seeing it. And that was really a remarkable feat of detective work. That's all it is about what's going on here. And that eventually led to an understanding of the molecules in here of water, how they're moving in this liquid, how the sugar molecules get in, where they go. Are they still sugar molecules when they're in there? Can you get them out? Those are all natural questions. Of course you can get them out. You just evaporate the water out, and out comes the sugar. But you can be sure it's not going to come out in a cube. It's going to come out in some other form. You can try this experiment with sugar. You can try it with salt. And you see that nothing is lost. Eventually people built up some knowledge of this. The reason I mentioned this knowing without seeing is two things. One is that it's interesting how this detective work was done. And that's part of what you'll trace in this course, at least a piece of it. And the other thing is it brings us together to other ways of knowing this world, of how people know how people behave, how artists know how to communicate emotion in a poem or in a novel. And all of these things somehow hang together as a human activity. Okay, that's all I want to say. I'll be very glad to answer questions about anything under the sun.